Terry was leaving with Frank to tour Japan. It was just for 2 weeks. Frank had taken me aside a few days earlier and said, "Look, you just showed up. We don't have a ticket to take you with us. This tour of Japan has been planned. We're doing Zoot Allures. We're not doing Joe's Garage. Just hang out in LA while we're gone. In 2 weeks, I will put you back on the payroll, complete with insurance and dental benefits, and you'll be with us again. Okay?" "Okay, sure." Terry told me I should just stay at his place while they were gone. He suggested, "Look, why don't you have your cousin Candy come visit you from Boston? You guys can hang out and get a dog while I'm gone." He knew I wanted a dog. He added, "It's just 2 weeks. When we come back, we will resume." I went out and got a Dalmatian puppy the day Terry and Frank and the band left for Japan. I brought my Dalmatian puppy home to Terry's guest house, and I was happy. The place was rented by Terry from Steve DeBoff, a famous songwriter who created tunes for everyone from the Monkees to Tom Petty and Wayne Newton. I used to drive around the corner from there to my friend Barry Brandt's place. Barry was the drummer from Angel, and he and I would smoke pot. My cousin Candy flew in the next day from Boston. When she stepped into Terry's place directly from the airport, the dog was there, and my cousin had an asthma attack because of the dog. Asthma is common these days, easy to control with inhalers. Most attacks can be fixed with a few quick puffs from an inhaler. Back then, it was not so easy. You had to go to a hospital for treatment. My cousin told me, "You have to take me to downtown LA, to this specific hospital, because it is the only place in California that takes my Boston insurance." Okay, she was really struggling. We were at the top of Laurel Canyon on Briar Drive. 8664 Briar Drive was Terry's address, top of the mountain. I had to take my cousin in Terry's car, his Audi. We drove all the way downtown. It was 2:20 in the afternoon. I noticed there was a Holiday Inn directly across from the hospital. I came up with a plan. I told Candy, "Look, let's check into this hotel. That way when you leave the hospital, you know where I am." Remember, there were no cell phones. There was no way to communicate. I told Candy, "Look, we'll check in first. That way you will know the room number and you'll have a key. Anything happens, you walk across the street." She agreed to the plan, adding, "Yeah, I might get out in a couple hours after the treatments. Plus, there isn't a dog here." We went to the little front desk at the hotel. The girl checked us in and gave us the keys. "Here you are," she said. "You're in room 421. As we were leaving the desk, I heard people laughing. I looked to the left and I observed 3 men. 2 were white, one with brown hair and no mustache. The other had reddish hair and a red mustache. They were wearing polyester pants and some sort of wool jackets. The redhead was wearing a turtleneck. They just looked like regular guys. They were laughing with a third man I will never forget. The third man was a man of color, but a very odd color. His skin was a unique bronze color. I don't know where he was from or what his ethnicity was. He was dressed like a security guard in uniform. He had a billy club and handcuffs. He was 6 feet 2 inches and had a sharp, fine nose with high cheekbones. I can see his face right now if I close my eyes. The 3 of them were laughing. The security guard looked right at me. The look on his face made me shiver. I took Candy back outside to the car, and we drove directly across the street to the hospital. She checked in. I left a key with her and reminded her to have the hospital call the hotel once she had the treatment, and then I would come back and meet her. I went back across the street to the hotel. No one was around. The guys were gone. I went up to room 421 and sat in the room drinking soda and watching TV, waiting for the hospital to call. Hours went by. Night fell. Finally, the phone rang a little after 9 p.m. It was the hospital, letting me know Candy was better and could go home. I drove across the street and picked up Candy. She was much better, but a bit sedated. Rather than drive all the way home to the top of Laurel Canyon, we decided to stay at the hotel that night. We returned to the room. There wasn't a soul around. The halls were empty. We went in the room and shut the door. We were not there but 5 minutes, and there was a knock on the door. I looked out the peephole and saw the two white guys I had seen in the lobby earlier that day. One of the guys had a noticeable bulge in the breast pocket of his jacket. It was a gun. I saw it. All those years around, my dad taught me what a concealed weapon looked like. They obviously wanted me to see it. I just ignored it, walked away from the door. I called the front desk and asked them to send up security or call the police. There was someone with a gun at my door. I hung up the phone, and seconds later, it rang. "Hello?" I said, assuming it was the cops. Instead, I heard, "We were just at your door. We're coming back up and you're letting us in." I hung up the phone. There was another knock on the door. I assumed it was the cops. I looked out the peephole and saw a badge. I told Candy, "It's the cops." I opened the door. Instead of the cops, it was the security guard from the lobby I had seen laughing with the other guys. The guard with the narrow nose and distinctive skin color. He took me by the shoulders and heaved me 4 feet across the room. He slammed the door behind him and yelled, "Get the fuck over there." He saw Candy, and she was heavily sedated on drugs. She was dazed. I screamed, "What the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of here." I felt my rage coming on. I yelled at him, "Get the fuck out of here." I was in full defense mode. He said, "I'm not leaving. The guys are coming back. I'm letting them in, and we're going to rape and kill you. Both of you." I pulled myself away from him and ran to the window. I threw it open. I started screaming out the window at the top of my lungs. "Help! Help!" He grabbed me from behind, put me in a chokehold, and started strangling me. I pulled my leg over the windowsill, trying whatever I could to get away from him. I was kicking him and hitting him. I got my leg out the window and the realization hits me. There was nowhere to go here. No ledge, no balcony. Oh no. In a matter of seconds, I had my body wedged in the window. He screamed, "Bitch, are you fucking crazy?" I screamed, "Help, help me," as I was digging my fingers into the brick on the outside of the window. I was wearing gold cowboy boots with sterling silver tips shaped like bulls that I had bought at Nudi's Rodeo Tailor's. I was balancing myself in the window, holding on for dear life. I was now more out of the window than in just struggling to keep myself dug into the sill, a 1-inch lip of cement. I wasn't afraid because I'm in rage mode. I didn't keel over. I found a way. In that situation, you do. At that moment, I said to myself, "Dale, don't let go. Whatever he does." He came at me again. H thrusted his arm out the window and tried to grab me from the outside to drag me back into the room. He had my shoulder and grabbed my neck. I freaked out and I busted him right off my neck. He fell away. Then I realized I let go. A voice in my left ear said, "You let go." As I was falling, a voice in my other ear said, "Everything will be all right." I passed out. I fell 40 feet out of the window of room 421 at the Holiday Inn in downtown LA. I ricocheted off the neon Holiday Inn sign, the kind with the flashing bulbs that click in order. I'm thankful still to this day for the people who built that sign. If I hadn't ricocheted off it, I would have gone straight down. I landed on my head, but not my face. I broke my floating ribs on both sides and my kneecap, but I didn't break my neck. I didn't break a fingernail or scratch my face. I landed on the cement My head cracked open. I was looking at myself face down on the concrete, bleeding out. My tiny body was in a pool of blood. My blood pouring from the gash on my head, a gash that would require 52 stitches to sew up. I found out later that after I fell, the security guard shoved Candy to the floor and screamed, "She's dead. She's fucking dead." This must have freaked him out because he ran out of the room, through the hotel, and into the night. Candy saw me in the pool of blood and ran down the 4 flights of stairs. By the time she was approaching me, the ambulance was already there. Someone had heard me screaming help. In about 30 seconds, they took me from the ground to the hospital across the street. Lucky for me, that hospital was one of the best trauma centers in Los Angeles. I was in the right place. Anywhere else, and I wouldn't have made it. I was bleeding out fast. Next thing I remembered was this person squeezing my left hand. He said to me, "Little girl, you better thank God for the rest of your life. You are a miracle to be alive." That was the message that vibrated in my left ear. I was awake for 30 seconds. That was 8 hours after falling 40 feet out of the window, and then I slipped back into a coma.